Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about JSON within the use of n8n. So if you're a beginner and if you're just starting out with n8n, then you definitely need to know basics, or at least the very basics of JSON, because that's essentially the language of the n8n in the background. That's how it communicates between the nodes, and that's how everything happens in n8n, okay? So if you don't know at least the very minimum, the very bare minimum of JSON, you will have a very hard time building a more complex workflows down there, guys. Okay, so if you stick around, I'm going to explain you everything you need to know as a beginner about JSON, and also it's going to be more of a hands-on video. So we'll talk about the theory and technicalities, and also we'll look at some example workflows, guys. Okay, so if that sounds good, let's go ahead and dive into it right away. Okay, so in this video, we're going to essentially cover a JSON, or the language of the data exchange within the n8n, right? So why does it matter if you ask me? So APIs return JSON, first of all. Webhooks send a JSON. And by the way, if you guys asking what is API and what is webhook, make sure to check out my YouTube channel, because I will be dropping, or I already dropped a video where I'm actually specifically explaining APIs and webhooks. Okay, so if you're not sure, make sure to go ahead and check out the video first and then come back to this video. All right. Okay, so APIs return JSON, webhooks send JSON, n8n workflows read and write in JSON. Okay, so the goal of this video really here is to understand JSON enough to read, debug, and create it. Okay, you don't have to be an expert. I'm not an expert in JSON, but again, just the basics, just the foundations, it's going to be more than enough for you to start building really nice workflows without running too much into issues. Okay, and again, once you understand JSON, you will be just able to kind of look at the JSON and understand, okay, I know what's happening here and I know how to work with that. So that's really the core idea here and the end goal of this video. And for you to really understand JSON, think of it as a blueprint language that connects all of these parts together. So we have brain, memory, and tools. Okay, so when I'm talking about these three, I'm referencing essentially a n8n in the sense that we have the brain, which is the model here. AH is going to be our brain, and then we have tools like for example, send summary or Gmail tool. We have the HTTP, right? So all these ones right here are communicating between each other using a JSON, okay? And I'm gonna run the flow after, guys, and I'm gonna show you some real life examples, okay? So, but essentially that's what's happening in the background, okay? Everything between those nodes is communicating using JSON, okay? So what is actually a JSON? So JSON is JavaScript object notation, okay? So it's part of JavaScript. I wanted to say programming language, but people who actually programming, they hate when we say that. It's technically a scripting language. It's used to be a scripting language, but now it has become programming language in a sense. So it's a lightweight text format for storing and exchanging data. Okay, I'm talking about JSON, not JavaScript. Okay, so JSON is a lightweight text format. So it's sort of a language or way for n8n nodes to communicate, because it's really lightweight and easy to understand and easy to read for computers and also for humans. Okay. So easy for humans to read and easy for machines to parse. Okay, so it's really easy to parse the code. What I mean by parse, essentially consume the code from APIs, from webhooks and stuff like that. Okay, so APIs, webhooks, databases, configs. Okay, so JSON is literally everywhere, and you're gonna see exactly why I say that just in a second when we're gonna dissect this workflow right here. Okay. So, and why are we using JSON in automation? So because n8n stores data as JSON internally, first of all, every node input output is a JSON. Okay, APIs usually return JSON, and that's like 99% of the case in n8n. Webhooks send event data in JSON. Okay, so when you want to send something from a webhook, it's going to be a JSON as well. So you guys can see JSON is literally everywhere, especially when it comes to n8n and automation. So learning JSON is basically being able to speak automation's native language, guys. I love that part. Okay, so let's review the structure of the JSON, guys. So JSON is built from two basic building blocks. Okay, we have objects basically, which are key value pairs. Okay, we have the key and then we have the value, and then we have a array. Usually this is to sort basically multiple items, or it can be something like blue, yellow, red, stuff like that. So when you have multiple items, you're going to be sorting that into a single array, or different arrays depending how you want to do it. You can also do nested arrays, guys, but again, we're not going to dive into those complexities. So objects and arrays, that's going to be kind of what you're going to be seeing most of the time in n8n. So let me just actually run this workflow so you can kind of see this in real action. So what this workflow here does, it basically scrapes Reddit, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's scraping the Reddit based on n8n automation, okay? So if I open my HTTP node, which is basically a post request API to a Appify web scraper, and if I open my body JSON here, so this is what I'm asking from API. So I'm basically saying search Reddit for n8n automation keyword, okay? And then return 50 items and maximum, and basically a bunch of stuff that I'm asking from this API. But again, guys, this is my point here is, this is a JSON here, guys. You guys can see, we're just talking about it. So it's key value pair, it's an object, okay? So essentially, guys, let me just give you a better example here. So yeah, so this is key object, okay? Sometimes you're gonna have Boolean, okay? So we have the key and then we have the value, okay? In this case, the value is true. And these ones are called Booleans, okay? So everything that's true and false, those are Booleans. We're gonna cover those just in a second. And then we have numbers and then we have strings, okay? But that's how it is, guys. You guys can see these are objects, key value pairs, and then we have arrays here. All right, guys, so that's how it works. And sometimes we can basically also have objects right here. Okay, so we have a object, which is a proxy, and that object contains use Appify proxy true, and also it contains a Appify proxy groups, which is an array of residential. Okay, so I assume this could have more options since it's a array. But again, think of an object as an actual object. So for example, if I delete this, okay, what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna delete just the inner part, guys. And I can do something like, name, okay, whoops, let me just close that. I'm gonna do a name, and this is gonna be an object, okay? And in that object, we're gonna have, actually, you know, guys, I made a mistake. So that should be a person. And the person basically has, what do they have, okay? So the person is gonna have a, they're gonna have a name. And that's gonna be, let's say that's gonna be, where is it? Okay, it's gonna be John. Okay, so the name is gonna be John. Let's close that in. Then we're gonna separate with the comma. Really important, guys. And we can do something like, and I made a crucial mistake. This is because it has to have a key value pair. So obviously I completely forgot about it. So name. Okay, so the name is gonna be a John. Okay, like this. Cool. So then we're gonna have something like we're gonna have age. Okay, and the age is going to be a number. Okay, so numbers don't need to have any, they don't have any quotation marks. So quotation marks we only are putting for strings, and strings are essentially like, you know, words like John, cat, dog, you know, color, blue, stuff like that. So those are strings. Numbers are always like this without any quotation marks because those are numbers. And the last thing we can do something like, let's think about it, is male. Okay, so it's like a gender thing. Is male, and we'll do as true. Okay, so booleans as well don't require any quotation marks. Okay, so we have John. He is maybe he's not 90. I think he's a little bit too old for that. So let's do John at 30 years old. Is he a male? True, and that's a boolean, guys. Okay, so that's essentially how we're structuring a JSON in a sense, right? But again, you won't be doing this really. Nobody does that really in n8n, because you're going to be pulling this data from the documentation of whichever API you're working with. Okay, so for example, I'm working with the actually here, guys, too. I'll share this documentation. Really useful. W3 schools will be really good for just programming in general, guys. I'll share this link with you guys also below the video in the description, so you can kind of learn more about the JSON from W3 schools, guys. Okay, but for now, let's focus on the API. So if I go here, and if I go and search for Reddit scraper, okay, like this. Okay, so let me just pull this one here, for example. You guys gonna see that it gives me a input example in a sense what I can ask from this API. Okay, so I can ask for maximum items, maximum post count, okay, and searches, and basically this is the very similar. I think it's probably the same scraper I have here. Searches, yeah, guys, same thing. So you guys can see, so searches. So that's essentially where I got the data from. Okay, so I didn't come up with this out of thin air, and I'm not a madman. I didn't type it manually. You just basically copy paste whatever you want to request from the API from this JSON. Okay, so the JSON basically includes the what do you want to ask from that API, or what do you want to receive from it. Okay, so that's essentially coming from here, guys. So yeah, I hope that was kind of clear, and that's kind of the basics of how it's working. Okay, guys, and the arrays, we just discussed that briefly. So the JSON objects, so objects are always in curly braces like these ones. Okay, so when we're talking about objects in any programming language, we're gonna always have braces, curly braces, and that's basically saying that this is a object. Okay, so also contains key value pairs. Keys are always in quotes. Okay, so that's really important to remember. So the keys are always surrounded by the quotes. An example would be name, basically what we just did with the John. So name is whatever Lunabot, power is AI, active is true, and then you can add a number also if you want, like power score or something like 120 or whatever is going to be a number. Okay, so JSON arrays, for arrays we're using square brackets. Okay, and essentially it's a order list of values. Okay, so it can be numbers, text, objects, and etc. So when we want to group more objects into a JSON, we're going to be using an array, okay, because that's kind of the best way to do so. And also when you're going to be working with APIs, you might see sometimes this. So this is array, meaning that you are asking for more than one item or number or text object, whatever, from the source. Okay, so that's essentially what the array is for. It's basically to group objects, items, numbers, and text into one array. Okay, yes, and this is the fun part. I think I just talked about it in a second, a couple of seconds ago when we were talking about John. So strings are basically words, so hello world. Those are surrounded by double curly brackets. Okay, strings are words basically, like John, hello world, or how are you? Those are strings. Numbers are numbers, nothing crazy there. We don't have any curly brackets here around numbers. I believe there are some edge cases in JavaScript. You can actually have a curly, you can have double braces around numbers, but it will be treated differently. Okay, so if anybody actually knows, you can confirm that. But I do believe JavaScript could work if you wrap this in a bracket, but there's not really too many cases for that. Okay, there are some issues with that if you do that. Okay, but JavaScript is a final language in general, guys, so don't be surprised. Booleans, so essentially a true or falsy. Okay, so is it true or false? Really simple, nothing really much to it. Boolean is always going to be true or false. That's only two only things it can return. Null essentially means it's empty, there's no value. Okay, objects are in curly braces, and then you have put your whatever key value pairs, strings, numbers, booleans. And then with arrays, if we're grouping multiple items into a single array. And we can also nest JSON, which is usually not really the best thing to do in general. It just gets kind of messy, but if you have to, you can do it. So basically, you can combine multiple JSONs into one JSON. So we are nesting JSON within the JSON within the JSON. So if you guys watched Inception, kind of the same thing. Dream within the dream within the dream, in a sense, right? So this is cool if we're stacking different tools. Okay, so essentially, when we think about for example, a AI agent with tools, so that would be kind of the case scenario in the background. Okay, so we're stacking the different tools, different functionalities on top of the agent. So in the background, it could be stacked like this when it comes to a JSON code, guys. Okay, so again, initially just stack different tools, different functionalities together. We could be nesting a JSON into multiple layers. Okay, but again, it's really hard and really becomes difficult to read. So I'll be careful as a beginner to not to nest too many JSONs. Okay, or at least use ChatGPT or Claude if you want to have like a nicely nested JSON object. Okay, cool. So for example, JSON in an API response. And guys, if you don't know what API response, make sure to check out my YouTube channel. I'll be dropping a video on APIs and webhooks also alongside with this video. But again, if you don't know, basically APIs are just how we communicate from n8n to something like Google VO3. So if you want to generate a video through Google VO3, we from n8n, we're going to use a bridge, or basically we are ordering something from Google's API. In this case, it's going to be generate a video with this audio and with the style and design for us, and then it's going to create that order for us, and then it's going to send it back to us through the same API. Okay, so again, check out the YouTube channel for APIs and webhooks video, guys. It's going to be a little bit more crystal clear for you guys after you watch the video, and then come back and continue from here. Okay. And this is essentially a example response. You know, when you work with APIs, you're going to get something like, you know, city Toronto, temperature is 18 and unit is Celsius or Fahrenheit, whatever, guys. Okay, so let me actually show you that in action here. So you guys saw we ran this workflow here. So we are requesting this data from the Redis scraper or API essentially, and this is the data we got back from the web scraper. Okay, you guys can see a bunch of stuff in here. Let me just open the JSON, guys. It's gonna be easier here, guys. So we can also do a schema, but anyways, we're focusing on JSON here. So this is the data we got from the API as a JSON. Okay, you guys can see it's essentially nested in an object, and then we have key value pairs. So with the data, and within the data, we have ID. You know, actor ID for Epify, and started ad, finished ad, status is ready, or essentially it's our 200, and origin is API. Okay, cool, guys. So these are basically, this is basically a JSON from API. We received this data from API once we run this workflow. Okay, so this entire thing is JSON here, and that's how we are getting the data from there. So a couple of rules when you work with JSON. So keys must be in double quotes, otherwise it's going to crash. And again, if you make a mistake, and we'll let you know. So for example, here, if I remove this, you guys are going to see I have this little red squiggly thing here. It means that there is a bug, or well, not a bug. There is a syntax, as we call it. There is a syntax error on this line. So just go back and put the double curly mark here, and you guys can see the bug was fixed. Okay, and also be careful with commas. For example, if I remove comma here, it's also going to error out here because you need to always put a comma unless it's the very last object. Okay, so here I'm not supposed to put comma. You guys can see it's going to error out. So the last object or last object within the array shouldn't have a comma. Okay, and don't put commas here, and don't put commas here. Okay, so it's going to be always the last one before the JSON ends. Okay, so if I remove here, it's going to be same thing. It's going to be error. Okay, guys. But again, if you make that mistake, it's going to tell you exactly on which line you have error. And if you're really struggling, just copy the starting, bring to ChatGPT, and tell them to fix the syntax, or address the bug in there, and it's going to do it for you. Okay, so cool, guys. That's for that. So I cannot have any trailing commas. Okay, unless how we just discussed, how the commas go there. It's case sensitive, really important, guys, and easy to break with tiny mistakes. Okay, so even if you, like, for example, here, if I do something like this by accident, I put a space, you guys can see it's not erroring out. But if I send this to API, it might error out because it's not the exact match. Okay, so API on Epify side doesn't have a search users space. Okay, it doesn't exist there, so it's going to tell me, hey, there's something wrong. You are asking for something that doesn't exist. So be careful. Use the exact name conventions and formatting that you see in the documentations for APIs. You guys can see there's no extra space on that unless they put extra space there for some reason. So always be careful to reference the exact format they provide in the documentation, guys. Documentation is literally a gold when you're working with APIs, webhooks, and well, mostly APIs, right? Because that's how you know what to ask for from API. Awesome, guys. So how you debug JSON? So I just showed you n8n will throw errors if you make a mistake. You're gonna see a red squiggly line over here. Then we have VS Code, or you can use cursor or whatever IDE or code editor you're using. But honestly, as a beginner, for example, let me just show you here. If I make a mistake here, and if I, for example, make a mistake here. Okay, so I have two mistakes now. I'm gonna bring the ChatGPT, guys, and I'll show you how it works. I'm gonna come to ChatGPT. I'm gonna say there's syntax error in this JSON. Please fix it. I'm gonna copy paste the code. Okay, and then it's gonna tell me the error is that you're missing a comma after the month. Okay, and here's the correct JSON. And now it removed also the comma here. Okay, so just copy this. bring back to n8n, remove all of this, copy paste, and now you have a properly cleaned up and fixed JSON, guys. Okay, took us like a second. So don't break your head. Use ChatGPT when you need to do these things. Okay. And cool, guys. And every node in n8n passes JSON. Okay, so everything is a JSON webhook, receive a JSON function node, modify JSON. HTTP node sends a JSON. Okay, so JSON is a currency that's flowing inside n8n, like literally. So let's just open up each of the nodes. So let's just to kind of show you or prove the point that everything is JSON. So here's the HTTP node. You guys can see that we received a JSON from the schedule trigger here, the first node, which triggers the workflow. You guys can see it's a JSON. We have timestamp, okay, and a bunch of other JSON data. The data from the API is JSON. The wait node, which basically waits before proceeding to the next node, it's a JSON and JSON here. If I open the JS node, basically what it does, it's gonna feed all of this and it's gonna do some filtering. Okay, here we are basically choosing the top posts based on the comments and like basically choosing the most viral posts, okay, on that topic. And we're using a very simple JavaScript algorithm or JavaScript snippet, I would say, to filter out the most trending or popular posts. But still, once it goes and does the whole filtering process through the JS node, although it's a JavaScript, we're still going to receive a JSON after the JS. Okay, so everything's JSON. So it filters out to the JS node. It's still going to be a JSON. And then we're gonna basically send everything to a agent, and agent will also receive a JSON in the format. So we're just basically sending this format of JSON to a agent. A agent will process this, and then a agent will basically send us an email, which is also a message and also a JSON. And then our agent will reformat this JSON into a HTML, and we will receive an email. Let me show you in a second how that looks. Here is basically the final email we got from that agent. You guys can see it formatted that into HTML. So the final output is HTML, but when we are talking about n8n, everything in n8n is a JSON, guys, okay? So that's why JSON is like really the language of n8n, and that's why it's really important for you to understand the basics, okay, guys? And that's pretty much a wrap of this video, guys. Again, I'll include the PDF and also the workflow, guys, if you want to play around with it. Make sure to like and subscribe my YouTube, like my video and subscribe to my channel, because I'm dropping these videos for free, guys. I'm always providing workflows for free, guys, as well. So if you have any questions, drop a comment. If you have any questions about JSON, n8n, or workflows, or if you have any questions about n8n in general, drop a comment and I'm gonna personally help you out, guys. But if not, I'm gonna wish you happy building and success in your n8n journey. And as always, I'm gonna see you next time.